Hey there guys, it's Liz here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about two main topics when it comes to EMFs or electromagnetic fields. Number one, my goal is to help you guys understand the things that you and your family are coming into contact with on a more regular basis that have higher EMF frequencies that you want to look out for, and then help you to know how do you protect yourself from that. Right? Because that's probably the more important aspect. It's not enough to just be aware of, hey, don't watch your microwave while your food's cooking, or, it's probably not good to put your cell phone right up next to your ear. But I want you to understand that in this wireless world, how to make it so that you're not freaking out and feeling OCD about the fact that everything around you is wireless and you really can't avoid it, but there are things you can do to protect yourself or to decrease your exposure to electromagnetic fields, because we're starting to realize over the technology revolution and continued science and research out there that it's contributing to a lot more health issues than we realize. And we don't think about it because it's not something you can see or hear or feel or really touch. And so no one's thinking about anything other than the convenience that the wireless world brings to us, but we're not realizing the repercussions that it has overall, as all of these EMFs are lapping on top of each other because you have your desktop going and you have your phone that you're on at the same time, and your laptop is on your lap, or you have your phone in your pocket, you have an Echo Dot or an Alexa in your house. You have, wireless headphones or a Bluetooth earpiece that you're listening to. You have your GPS on in your car. I mean, it's endless. And so my last goal of this is to want to overwhelm you. It's simply to educate you. But I need to make the disclaimer that I'm not an EMF expert. This is not something that I have been studying for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years like a lot of professionals out there. But what I have been doing as a biohacker is studying those professionals, the things that they recommend, and the science and studies that they've been looking at to be able to give their opinion and their feedback. And if you've seen any of my videos before, you know that my goal is to always go through all the nitty-gritty and the fads and gimmicks and hype and be able to bring you guys true, tangible advice and things that you can take and start implementing for you and your family to be able to help to better improve your health. So over the next several minutes of this video, I'm going to show you a couple different things. I want to show you my top tips to be able to protect yourself and some of the most common interactions that you have with EMFs on a regular basis that you can easily help to decrease your exposure just by following a couple of these simple tips. And quick side note, for those of you guys that may be sitting there thinking like, is this really that big of a deal and that much of a detriment to my health that I'm gonna stop wearing my Fitbit 24/7, or that I'm gonna, try and switch over from a very convenient wireless Bluetooth headpiece to handle my phone calls instead of using speakerphone or like a hardwired headset? Guys, I run my entire business online. So if this wasn't important, I wouldn't be talking about it, because I love wireless. I really do. But I don't love what I know it can do to my body. And so without going into nitty-gritty scientific details, where if any of you guys want access to the resources that I've found to be able to come to the conclusion that this is important enough to talk about, I am happy to give them to you. But basically, we have voltage-gated calcium channels in our body that regulate a lot of processes, and EMFs really screw them up, make them leaky, and have a whole cascade of effects in our body. So that's the very summarized Spark Notes version of it. But I'm telling you, I'm gonna dive into things like Bluetooth headpieces, Bluetooth headsets that you wear at the gym. Yes, I know it sucks, sorry, but we'll talk about ways to be able to help mitigate some of the side effects. Apple Watches, Fitbits, Wi-Fi routers, tablets, laptops, computers, guys, GPSs. There's so much stuff out there you don't even think about. So let's get to it. All right, guys, so we're gonna start with the microwave. In our house, we have a Panasonic 1250 watt. I hardly use a microwave. I actually really like to have my food cold. It works better on my stomach. My husband's a little bit different. We're working on him, but this is one of the most common household items, so I wanna start here. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys on my meter what it reads as far as the frequency that's being given off when the microwave oven is off. And then I have a cup of water in there so I can turn on the microwave, and I wanna show you the difference in how much it's giving off once it's turned on. And just by distancing yourself a couple of feet from the microwave instead of standing there watching your tea or whatever is cooking, how much of a difference it can make in your exposure and how much you can decrease it. So let's check it out. All right, guys, just a little meter anatomy for you guys. Look at this peak number up here. That's whatever the highest frequency is that has hit within the last 5 seconds of that meter. So this is what you really want to focus on, especially for pulsing frequencies, but we'll go over that in a minute. So I'm about 5-6 feet away from my microwave right now. So we're at what, 15 in this peak? We're getting closer. Okay. I'm not touching it yet. We're at 45, 46. I'm officially touching the microwave and we're at about 156. So guidelines, honestly guys, guidelines are, it should be less than 50, ideally, to not have any biological effects on your body. It should be less than 50. And standing right next to the microwave without it even being on was 156. When I turned it on, it got to about 225 when I was just heating up water in there. And we're standing there watching our food and our tea and everything else cook. So step a couple feet away from the microwave and you can get back down into safe exposure. All right, guys, so now we're on to the Wi-Fi router. This is the scariest one. It honestly freaks me out just to be this close to it right now. But we have to switch on the meter. We're not measuring in the same frequencies that we just did for the microwave. That was the electric. Now we are using the radio frequency. It's different, so make sure that if you do get a meter, you get one that measures all 3 frequencies, or you're gonna have to get a couple different meters. But I have to turn my phone around and show the meter to you guys as you go and watch the pulsing of everything that's being sent from this Wi-Fi router, because it will literally blow your mind. All right, guys, here we go. So I'm currently sitting on my couch. My Wi-Fi router is probably like 8 feet away from me. And this is what I want to show you. So with radio frequencies, that's what we're on right now, it pulses. Like, it's not just like one strong pulse like you do from the electric frequencies that we were looking at with the microwave. But you see how this like keeps fluttering? That's why you need to keep an eye on this peak right here. This is whatever frequency you're exposed to right now. This ideally isn't supposed to be higher than 1. It's already at 1.2 and I'm just sitting on my couch. My router is right up there. So I want to show you guys what happens as you get closer to your router. All right. Look at this. Look at that. It doesn't even register half the time. It's obnoxious. Like, it's literally past the point that can actually tell you what the frequency is. 16, 19, it's supposed to be no more than 1. No more than 1. If you sit right next to your router or your kids are up playing video games against the TV, I mean, look at their exposure. So guys, this was probably the most eye-opening one for me and my family, because we spend like the most time in our living room and the Wi-Fi router is at the center of it. I'm not thinking that it's that obnoxiously different between sitting here maybe in front of the TV watching a movie, stretching before I go to bed, versus sitting on the couch. I mean, that's a huge difference. You had maybe around 1 to 19 once you got up here, when you're looking at the difference between the frequencies. So think about that when you or your kids or anyone is close to the router. If you can get it as far away from your family as possible, that is ideal. The strongest frequencies in our house are literally coming from this white box. Now, TVs, they absolutely give off frequency, but it's not as severe in my opinion, unless you're a lot closer up. Because when I'm further back, whether it's like 3 feet or 8 feet, I mean, it's literally anywhere between 14 and 20 volts per meter. Like I said, you want to be under 50 ideally. You have to get really, really close to the TV for it to get super high. So I'll show you that just a sec here. So I'm about 3 feet away from my TV. I get up closer. All right, and so now that the meter is literally touching the screen, it's at 337, but you have to see, like, as soon as I start stepping back, it really reduces the exposure. So that's not as bad as the Wi-Fi router, for example. All right, guys, so I'm gonna display to you how much of a difference it makes in the frequencies that are given off when your phone is on airplane mode versus connected to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, internet, etc. So this is the way that you want it to be set when you're putting your phone in your pocket, when you have it in your bedroom, when you're sleeping, any time that you can afford to turn on airplane mode, you want to, because you can see right now, as you're looking like the peak here, 0.39, 0.09, like it's very, very low. It's staying underneath 1. I want you to see what happens once I turn the phone back on and airplane mode is dismissed. Look at what's happening to that number now that everything is connected. We have 14 up here, 17, 18. It just keeps going, 3, 10, 12. So these are all the radio frequencies that are being emitted from your phone. So I want you guys to think about this every time you have it in your pocket, you have it near your head when you're making a phone call. Guys, this makes a huge difference. So you gotta be aware of it. All right, guys, so now we have a Plantronics Bluetooth earpiece. So whether you're somebody that likes to do Bluetooth earpieces like that or wireless headsets for the gym, I'm going to turn this on. You're going to see, you know, it's been going anywhere between 0.178 to like 0.26 for the peak. So it's currently off. And now I'm going to turn it on. As you can see, nails tapping in the background. Holy went up to 4. Look at that. 4, 2. It's just insane. Like you're putting that right next to your ear, like right in your ear canal. And you're doing this with those earbuds from Apple as well. Those are actually some of the worst because they have transmitters in each one of the pods versus wireless headphones that have a wire in between. A lot of times the transmitter is in the wire at the nape of the neck versus right in your ear canal. But yeah, that's the power of having one of those next to your head. All right, so now we're gonna go to the Fitbit. So I have a Fitbit Charge 2, but guys, I'm kind of applying this to any of those wireless, Bluetooth devices that are supposed to be helping to improve your health by helping you track your steps and whatnot. But I want you to know what it's emitting constantly right onto your skin every single day. And I turned my phone on airplane mode so that you guys are able to see that any frequencies that are being picked up, it's definitely from this Fitbit. So here we go. All right, guys, so with no Fitbit, we have about 0.031. That's about the peak up here. It can go to 0.067. As we talked about before with radio frequencies, they're pulses. It's not gonna be the same. You have to watch for that peak number to see what the highest one is. So the highest we've seen so far since I started this clip was 0.7. But if I'm adding in a Fitbit, and it's, I'm walking, it's trying to translate anything to, whatever device you have it connecting to, or it's just trying to track your movement, send you messages, whatever it is. Look, that one just went to 3.35. So it's not consistent. It's not consistently going to be like, oh my gosh, it's shocking you with all these radio frequencies. The thing with radio frequencies is it just depends. Is it moving? Is it trying to connect to something? Look, it just went to 2.48. Like that doesn't happen until the Fitbit is on and in front of it. So just keep in mind that this is something that many of you guys have on all the time. You're sleeping with it versus it's, look at it, it just keeps jumping. But, if I'm pulling it down and the meter has time to adjust to the fact that it's not there, look, now it's down at 0.07, highest that it went. So that's the big difference when you're wearing something that's constantly trying to connect to Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, etc. on your body. All right, guys, so I'm now going to show you, as you can see how obnoxious it is, the difference between using a laptop to do work, research, read, whatever you want to do on it versus a desktop. My laptop is connected to our Wi-Fi right now. My desktop is sleeping and it is hardwired. So I didn't want the signals to overlap. But you can see, this has gone everywhere from 0 point whatever to 7.8. It's been up to 13 and 14 since we've been sitting here, especially depending on whatever you're doing. Like you can see right now, it's up at 18. That is insane. Oh my gosh. But as soon as you start doing anything that requires the computer to communicate with like the mouse or with the Wi-Fi, it skyrockets. It's just crazy. Now we're gonna do the desktop. Clearly, since the desktop is hardwired, when we look at radio frequency, it's gonna be really low. It's not going off of the Wi-Fi. In fact, the Wi-Fi is turned off right now. on my desktop. But what you do need to look at is the electric frequencies. All right, so you can see that, well, I'm about 2.5 feet away from my computer right now. It's at about, we're looking anywhere between like 60 and 70 volts per meter. When you're up close and personal to your computer, I mean, look, if you're right up on the screen, it gets really high. I mean, that gets into the upper 300s, low 4s. I'm now just touching the screen. When I'm touching the screen with this meter, it gets into the 900 range for the peak. So I just want you guys to think about that when you're thinking about how far back to sit away from your screen. That is the difference that just like 2.5 feet makes. 69 or like 900. So sit back a little bit. All right, now let's talk a little bit about prevention and how in this world where everything is freaking wireless and you can't go into a single place without Wi-Fi shooting through you, how do you keep yourself and your family members from getting paranoid that they're literally just being bombarded with all types of EMFs constantly? So guys, there are so many different techniques out there. Some of them are kind of like floofy, some of them are scientifically proven. It's hard because EMFs, like I said, you can't hear, see, like feel them. And so if you look at scientific studies, there will be many different articles out there that say you cannot scientifically prove that EMFs cause cancer or EMFs cause autism. But what we have seen is that the thing that EMFs disrupt, aka those voltage-gated calcium channels I was talking about earlier, that has a cascade of effects that affects like everything in your body. And so no, it's not a this happens so this happens, but it's this cascade of effects down the line and this constant accumulation of EMF exposure. That's what leads to issues. So first thing is first, distance yourself. You want to distance yourself as far as you can from whatever is emitting the frequency. So you saw in many of my examples just how stepping back 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, even like 1 foot away from a source can drastically reduce your exposure. For many objects, rule of thumb is, you're about a foot away from whatever source is emitting the frequency, it can reduce it by up to 80%. So anything you can do to keep your phone further away from your head, or this ring light further away from my body, or you not standing directly in front of your Wi-Fi router, those are going to be the best immediate changes that you guys can make. My second suggestion, after increasing the distance between you and any source that's emitting an EMF, is using airplane mode on as many devices as you can. So phone, you can do it on your iPad or tablet, and you actually can do it on your desktop. I didn't even realize this until the other day, that I have my desktop hardwired. I use an Ethernet cable, but I still have the Wi-Fi on. So even though I'm utilizing a hardwire, it's still making the connection. My desktop is still emitting more radio frequencies than if I just turned it off. So I turn it off and it's on airplane mode, and it still works because it's hardwired. So that's probably one of the smartest, easiest things that you guys can do, is whenever you do not have to have your phone on, your tablet on, please make sure that you're putting it in airplane mode. Turn off the Bluetooth as well, because otherwise it's going to keep trying to connect to things. Something can still be connected to Bluetooth even though you have it on airplane mode. I did it earlier for one of my demonstrations. So it's still gonna be emitting frequencies. You have to make sure that you turn any setting off that you don't need. Turn off your location services. Anything that is tied to a GPS that's going to be transmitting with something else. So using that easy, simple tool would be my next suggestion. My third suggestion is specifically for nighttime. In addition to making sure that you have all of your devices on airplane mode, and it's recommended to be at least 4 feet from you while you're sleeping, there are some people that turn off the circuit breaker to their bedroom while they're sleeping. Now, this is because then you don't have any electric current going through. It actually was said by Dr. Mercola that that is the most important hack. That's actually his number one, because you have stuff that's still plugged in. You have lights that are turned off but plugged in. You have a TV that's turned off but it's still plugged in, and you still have everything running through the walls or, you know, through floors or whatnot that still has electric current, and it affects your ability to be able to get into your circadian rhythms the right way, produce melatonin to be able to, you know, stay asleep and regulate sleep cycles. So it really is important. However, it is very inconvenient for a lot of people. So just because something isn't convenient doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. But I'll tell you right now, it would be the biggest fight with my husband if I said, hey, by the way, you know I'm going to be going to sleep, even though you want to stay awake and watch TV for a little bit. I think you should go turn the circuit breaker off. It's just, he's not going to do it. Like, so we may have to try and find some type of happy medium, but if you have your phone on airplane mode, you have all of your devices further enough from you, and you have as many things unplugged that you really don't need at that time, I'd also recommend having some type of setting on your Wi-Fi router so that it can either, you know, you may have a service where it automatically will turn off during a certain time frame, or you can use one of those like Christmas light timer things that you plug into one of the outlets and it just turns the outlet off at a certain time and turns it on at another time. So if you can utilize one of those that's connected to your Wi-Fi router so that even if your stuff is on airplane mode, you don't have Wi-Fi signals being sent through the house, that's at least reducing your exposure during that time. That's a big way, besides cutting the circuit breaker to your room, that you can greatly reduce any type of, you know, electric current, Wi-Fi currents and whatnot going through any of the bedrooms in your house while you're sleeping. My fourth suggestion would be to hardwire as much as you can. Guys, I know it's a pain in the butt. I know nobody wants to be at the gym with, you know, wires hanging. Like, I remember before I even had wireless headphones, and it's like getting all wrapped around. Guys, even if you just reduce your exposure or your usage of the Bluetooth earpiece or Bluetooth, you know, headphones to just at the gym, and you commit to hardwiring any other time that you need to listen to something, and maybe you just have, you know, one of those like armbands or whatever that your phone is here so that maybe it's not as inconvenient, you can still get up and walk around. That would be a big way to be able to reduce how much exposure you have of EMFs like directly into your brain with these wires. And last but definitely not least is you have to make sure that you're activating your NRF2 pathway. This is you supporting your body to be able to fight against all the crap that clearly you are going up against on an everyday basis. And there is a crazy amount of research proving that NRF2 activation actually decreases your body's sensitivity to all the effects that are happening from being exposed to EMFs. So it's incredibly well researched. There's so many scientific studies, and I take a very potent NRF2 activator. Nickname is the little yellow pill. If you want more information on it, feel free to ask me, message me, comment, whatever you want to do. But it has 26 peer-reviewed studies behind it, so it's not one of the foofy NRF2 activators out there, because guys, a lot of things activate NRF2. You need to know that. Coffee technically activates NRF2. Olive leaf extract technically activates the NRF2 pathway, but you want to potently do it. You literally want to be able to throw a fire hose on a house fire versus a little Dixie cup. Like, that's the difference here. So NRF2 activation is absolutely one of the most preventative and therapeutic breakthroughs, especially when it comes to helping your body prevent and fight against all of the crap that we deal with EMFs. Now that I got to tell you what I do most strongly suggest, I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the things that you may be sitting there wondering, well, I've heard of trying this, so do you not think that this works, or what's the deal? Because there's a lot of stuff out there, like I said. And if you guys have any questions or comments and want my feedback on them, there's very possibly things that we did not get to in here, so you can go ahead and I'll respond. But things like, this is why I keep looking over here, I got a plant. So many of you guys probably heard that, this one's got a little bit of a dead leaf over here. Many of you guys have probably heard that there are EMF absorbing or blocking plants that are out there. And succulents are very well known in that category, cacti, snake plants, and things like that. And I was really curious about this, especially because I have mold sensitivities and I was really afraid to bring any houseplants inside, any type of plant inside. So I started doing more research, and honestly, and I'm more than open to reading any research that anybody else has, but I have not found any research that proves that it's going to, I know that plants absorb EMFs just like our bodies do, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily reducing my exposure. It's absorbing them, but it's not absorbing it enough that it's really going to reduce the amount that I'm exposed to, as far as what I have found. So if anybody else has anything else out there, you can let me know. But again, that's based off of the research that I have done. When it comes to what's out there, shungite and organite, those are two, precious stones, gems, etc., that a lot of people have actually either gotten some, like just a big one that just, sits on their desk or sits in their house, or they get some type of pendant made out of it. And so they're thinking it kind of deflects some of the EMFs or absorbs them or protects themselves from it. And so I just want to make sure that you guys know, even though there's not rock solid, and I say this very lightly, there's not rock solid science proving that that organite's gonna, deflect EMFs from you and that you're shielded from them. There's a lot of people that say that they feel a lot of therapeutic benefits from having these stones in contact with them. I don't use them. However, you have to remember that even if you have a pendant around you that has organite and it's proven to, deflect EMFs, first of all, it's only going to reduce the intensity. It's not going to be able to change the actual frequency. And that's only one part. Like, I'm just saying this, if you have a pendant that's hanging here, like, unless you're literally wearing like a suit of organite, like, these frequencies are everywhere. Wi-Fi goes everywhere. Like, it's not just a straight line. So literally, if I have my phone, it's shooting out from the sides, from the front. Like, Wi-Fi's coming everywhere. It's coming from my neighbor's house. It's all over the place. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind, that some of this stuff can get really expensive. How much is it actually reducing the frequencies that are hitting you? You're better off trying to use airplane mode, create space between you and the source, and support your body with Nerve 2 activation and the little yellow pill before going and spending a ton of money on rocks that, could possibly reduce the intensity, but it's only at one part. You're not covering your whole body with a shield of it. Does that make sense? So keep that in mind when it comes to the rocks. Now, when it comes to any other devices or products that are out there that are supposed to reduce EMFs or block EMFs, guys, it doesn't mean that they don't work just because I'm not talking about them right now, because I don't know all of the products out there. I do know that the ones that I have found that are ones that I would trust, such as the headphones that aren't going to emit any of the frequencies because they have air tubing, and I'm going to be getting a set of those this week. Those are things that are proven through scientific, third-party, like independently done, FCC validated studies. So just make sure that you're not just reading a description of something on Amazon and saying, oh, this is an EMF blocking blanket. Like, there are blankets, there are hats, there are scarves, there are coats, there's so much that's out there. And so just keep in mind, like, you may wear, say you end up wearing a shirt, well, the rest of your body is exposed, so is that really helping you that much? Like, I just keep thinking what I can do to protect myself overall in those times where I know I'm being bombarded the most. So, for example, I'm being bombarded the most with any type of headwear that I'm wearing, and it's right next to my head. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to get products that I know reduce the frequencies that are emitted from the stuff that I'm putting directly by my dome, like right in my brain. So am I gonna go end up getting, EMF blocking boxer undergarments? No, but a male that may be worried about prostate cancer or runs in the family, or they're very hypersensitive to EMFs, they may do that. So it's up to you to do your own research. Just make sure that you actually do the research. You can spend a crap ton of money on stuff that honestly people are just trying to take advantage of the fact that people want to be healthy and they're like, oh, this sounds good, and they know they can make a buck off of it. So make sure that you do your research with that. Guys, that kind of brings all this stuff to a close. I'm going to continue doing my research, bring you guys my new findings as they come. But if you guys have any questions, any comments, any new studies, anything you want to present to me, articles, feel free to put it in the comments. I'm happy to look at it, give you my feedback, and hopefully it just makes you a little bit more aware of how you can protect yourself from the constant bombardment of EMFs in your environment. So, mwah. Love you guys. Have a good one.